So another possible reason why the media does this is to basically keep us locked out, to have some semblance of control over, over the message. And why would they want to do that? Well, because the big media corporations are just that, corporations. And corporate America is all about, hey, inflate the profits, cut the taxes. So when somebody comes along like Ocasio-Cortez and says, hey, we used to have a 70% tax rate in this country and things worked just fine. In fact, they work better than they do now. Then, the media has to, put a cork in that one. Wow, stop that. We can't have that kind of conversation. That's, and cue the outrage from not only all the Republicans, but from the so-called moderate Democrats. Moderate Democrats are like, can you believe Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said that? I mean, there's actually one quoted in the New York Times today. Seriously? I mean, this is going to damage the prospects of every Democrat in 2020. Really? How about just reporting on the truth? Now, another area where the big networks censor themselves is with things that have to do with their own financial interest. CNN is about to be owned by AT&T, as I recall. MSNBC is owned by Comcast. ABC, NBC, CBS, they're all, giant media companies, and in many cases have interlocking relationships with internet service providers, which may have something to do with why we didn't hear any conversation at all over the last year about the Republican destruction of net neutrality, among other things. You've got, major advertisers on TV, drug companies and insurance companies, and what don't we hear a conversation about? How the drug companies are ripping us off and how the insurance companies are ripping us off. The other major source of money for the big TV networks and the radio and TV stations around the country is advertising during elections. Just the Koch brothers put $300–400 million into the last election. I mean, the 2016 election was a $2 billion election. Where did most of that money go? Right into the network's pockets. Have you noticed anybody on any of the network television shows having an in-depth conversation about where did that money come from that the Koch brothers were spending? Where did that money go? What was the measurable effect of that money? How does that translate into policy? I mean, we know that, Shelley Adelson and Robert Mercer threw all this money in, behind Donald Trump. We know about the impact it's having, or that Trump is having. I mean, that's fairly obvious. But I don't think actually even the average American knows this. So they censor themselves in this regard. And, they don't want to offend the advertisers. They don't want to offend their own board of directors. So what can we do about this? Now, I think, one of the things that I would recommend is by the way, and the final piece of this is this massive media consolidation that happened after 1996, after the Telecommunications Act of '96, which prior to that, no media company in the United States owned more than, I think it was 35 radio or TV stations. I mean, it was a fairly limited number that you could own, and certainly you couldn't own both a radio station and a TV station and a newspaper in the same market. Most ownership was local. Well, after '96, after the Telecommunications Act of '96, that just kicked that door open. I mean, one of the big radio groups went up to over 1,000 stations. Another one went to over 700 stations. On TV, you've got, half a dozen TV broadcasters who own over 100 stations. It's just gotten huge. And with that has gone the sense of responsibility to the communities in which they're broadcasting. This is, we need to do some work here.